The title of today's material is Alternate Aces. So for the most part, I'm going to be focusing on alternate ways to play them. By that I mean alternate ways to pot, get it in, and hope for the best. We will just deal with table number 4 quickly. We're going to end up against M-Dom, and these aces don't really warrant much discussion, but we'll deal with them quickly. So I think opening the standard size, whatever your standard under the gun size is, I think opening your standard size is compulsory with your aces. Decent aces, not the best aces, but very good all the same. And then we get 3-bet from a small blind range of a player who I do think, and as you've probably seen in the earlier material in this series, he's certainly capable of joking around with us. So I don't think he's as conventional small blind 3-bet heavy as other players, but at the same time, small blind 3-betting in a 6-handed game is not going to be super wide and crazy by any means. So the fact that we've got a suit means a good amount of the time, if he's double suited, we're actually going to have that suit covered, and it's just self-explanatory. And in my mind, against a player like this who is going to attack super light and he's not going to make any incorrect folds, you just do have to get it in blind here post-flop. Now that we've played it in this manner pre-flop, you can see I think about some weird goofy sizing here. There will be a spot in the aces material later where I mix it up with pre-flop sizing. This is not an appropriate spot to mix it up with pre-flop sizing. Get as much money in as you can pre, lower the stack to pot ratio, and there's a player like this who will come out attacking on a flop of 4-5-6 with a 5 and some side cards. You get it in. That being said, I think that's covered. Actually, I want to cover one more piece on this hand, and then we focus on the more interesting hand on table number 3. I want to deal with the post-flop bet sizing considerations, given that we've taken this line on table number 4. So we 3-bet pot, and he calls without too much hesitation. I would expect him to be open calling most of his small blind 3-betting range, unless it's like bad King X, but I don't expect him to 3-bet many bad King X's. Now, this is a pretty wet flop, and I don't like how fast I made that bet sizing. I didn't think about it for anywhere near long enough. I was obviously working out how to deal with table number 3, which we're about to embark on shortly. On a board like this, you're never making his draw fold, and he will have some very real draws. So there's probably another interesting point there. Don't get upset when you go losing a hand on a flop like this, because this does hit a lot of his range in the face, and a lot of the times he'll be close to, he'll be over 40% equity with the 8-10 jack and the 10 jack kings that have picked up a flush draw. So here I think you're sizing. He's not going to have us universally on aces. He'll have us heavily weighted towards aces, but he's going to see some ace king kings in there, and especially factoring in that part of our range and his perception of our range, I like a smaller sizing. As I touched on a minute ago, you're not making 10 jack of clubs fold, so don't even try. While it's true, had I potted it versus 10 jack of clubs, I'm getting more money in good than I am, say, betting 200. You're not changing that part of his range, so the money's going in regardless against that, whether you bet X or you bet Y. However, if we say bet 180, and he's got a hand like 9-9, Queen, the case ace with one of the other pairs, say a 9 and a 9 high flush draw, that's probably not going anywhere anyway, so that's a bad example. The point that I'm trying to make is that we can make a smaller flop bet and not move out any of the top of his range, but bring in a few hands in the bottom of his range. And the stack to pot ratio is super favourable. If he makes a little bit of an inattentive call with 9-9, planning to reevaluate on the turn, then 100% we've got him committed. Whereas if we go sizing like this, maybe he's folding 9-9, maybe he's not. I don't know how heavily he perceives my ace king kings to take this line. He probably does know that I'm taking this line with ace king kings, so 9-9's probably not ever folding. But the point that I'm trying to make is going to be very relevant versus other types of players who might not have as clear understanding as of your range, as I think MDOM does, is that if you lower the flop c-bet sizing, you're going to trap the weaker part of his range and the other hands that I touched on earlier.